name is Cassandra Contreras. I'm 23 years old, and today I'm just excited to be here.
Good. Well, we're happy to have you. Okay, so tell me about a talent that you have that you feel like no one in your life knows about.
A talent that I have. This is gonna sound like really, really niche and like weird, but I'm in the kitchen a lot, especially like with my roommates and with my family. And my like very specific talent in the kitchen is being able to peel garlic. It's just really silly, but like I'm always able to just get it the right way.
Oh, I love that.
And so not a lot of people know, but my roommates kind of caught on to it. So if they're cooking, they're make
like,
me peel the garlic. I think that's just like a really silly like skill that I have, and I learned it from watching cooking shows.
Do you use the back of the knife, or do you have another
full hands?
Oh, like the full thing, or
no, like
the individual
ones. I just peel it.
Oh, how long does that take?
I think it took me maybe like a week to learn how to do it. Yeah, just watching like the Food Network and stuff like that. But like non-cooking related talents, I'd say I have really witty writing skills.
Ooh.
And it helps me a lot because I work in social media and I'm studying PR, and sometimes people that know me don't know that some of the things I get posted online, especially for work and stuff, like that's all me.
Oh my God, I love that.
Sometimes they'll catch on to it if I'm like talking and stuff like that, but I'm usually very, I guess you could say, like nonchalant when it comes to like my form of talking and like my wit, but I'm very good at writing and putting it out there.
So that's what you want to, is that what you're studying currently?
Yeah, public relations.
Okay, nice. And then do you work, or do you like just do school?
I do both.
Oh, where do you work?
I work for,
what do you do?
The San Diego Museum of Art.
Nice.
Yeah, and I do digital marketing for them, and it's a very nice thing. I love the environment there. It's allowed me to put what I'm learning in school, like right as I'm learning, as I'm going through the classes, and be able to apply it in real time.
Yeah.
So it's been really nice to be able to have that experience in from an education standpoint, but also in a standpoint of professional development.
Right.
Being able to go to work and immediately apply what I'm learning.
Yeah.
It just feels very fruitful.
Is there like a specific company or like area in which you want to work doing PR, or do you like free for all, like whichever one?
I feel like right now I might be like a free-for-all. I'm really enjoying the arts. It's just such a nice environment to be in. Everybody is always just so, I guess, thankful for one. There's a lot of appreciation for the arts, but the environment working in arts and culture, it just feels very like educational to me. Whether you're just talking about the artwork or like your professional life, everybody always has a way to connect everything back to art, which is really nice. But I think in the future I would like to return or start again working in sports, the sports area. And I think long-term goal would probably be to become a sports agent and use my PR experience to work in sports.
What did you do prior to working for the San Diego Museum in terms of sports?
Yeah, I currently do like gig work for UCSD.
Nice.
And I do stats for them. So a lot of my like sports experience, just growing up in like a basketball family too, working in stats and being able to be there and see everything and how everything works. And I have a boss there, and he's amazing, and he's kind of taught me a little bit here and there of the behind the scenes that comes to sports. And I think it's just something that I'm learning to kind of like fall in love with again. Yeah,
that's so nice. I feel like you have such a like adaptable palette where you're like sports, art, whatever, like you can really flow into the different realms.
I just love everything.
Yeah, that's a good trait to have, because it's like it's nice to be adaptable. Yeah. In this society, at least. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What is an accomplishment or a personal project that you do either in school or outside of school that you're really, really proud of?
Inside of school, a personal accomplishment of mine has really just been the interactions I've had with my professors. I know it doesn't sound like a really like large thing, but I think going into public relations and a degree or trying to earn a degree in public relations as someone that comes from an anthropology background, that comes from a literature and writing background, has been really, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's been a process and a lot of getting used to, and wiring my brain to work differently. So I think little accomplishments, like when I create a campaign for class and I get really good feedback from the professors, or they're like, oh, or what about this? Or maybe you should reach out here. I feel like those are just little accomplishments that I take every day, and they're just really nice. And I think in my professional life, again, working in social media, anytime I have a post that does really well, it's just really rewarding, especially given that San Diego Museum of Art is such a local thing. So those are just tiny accomplishments that I take every day.
I love that. Okay, so in terms of like, for example, you said that you came from a different background than what you are currently working on and what you want to do in the future. In terms of like giving someone a piece of advice or like tips and tricks on like how to manage going into a different field than when you initially thought, what would you say to someone in that same, circumstance situation?
I think learning how to work in that situation where I'm putting myself in a new environment, I really had to live by the idea of like comparison is the thief of all joy.
I love that.
Because as someone that's probably like the younger person in the office, and sometimes even like the younger person in my cohort in school, seeing where everybody else is and their professional life and in their education, sometimes it can feel very daunting, and you're looking at everybody and you're thinking to yourself like, wow, they're doing this and they're doing that, and I'm barely scratching the surface. So don't compare yourself. Comparison is the thief of all joy. And if you stop comparing yourself in those professional and those educational environments, you're going to be able to grow so much more. And in doing so, especially stepping into a new realm, learn from those people. Really take from them. Really take your time to get to know them and ask the questions and say, how did you end up here? And sometimes you're going to end up seeing that maybe when they were your age, they weren't even as close to maybe where you were, or they were doing things differently as well. Taking the time to talk to people, to learn from people, and just don't put yourself in a mental situation where you're going to constantly compare yourself to others, because you're just going to be so sad about it at the end of the day. And there's so much room for growth if you just let yourself learn from others.
No, I love that. I think like I mean I've been in a position where I'm like, ugh, I'm like the same age as these people, but why are they here and I'm not? But it's also like, you said such a good point where it's like, learn from those people instead of comparing yourself. I think like mentorship is so key, especially like at a young age, learning from those that are a little older than you, or even in people that are the same age as you but are in a different position, or like in a position that you want. Like, instead of comparing yourself, learn. It's so well said. I love that. Okay, so obviously you've done your bachelor's degree, now you're doing your master's degree, so you love education.
I do.
So what does education mean to you, per se?
Education is something that we do every day. We are consistently educating ourselves, whether we realize it or not. Even the little things that you do in the day, even that change in routine where you're starting to figure out like, this is better for me than doing this, or maybe waking up at this hour is better than this. Education is just something we take for granted all the time, and we don't realize that it's around us consistently. It's in the palm of our hands, literally, with our cell phones and everything that we consume. And my mom's an educator, my dad's also an educator, and to a certain extent I feel like so many of us take education for granted, and it's such a I can't even find the words to say. It's just so important. And I think when given the opportunity to pursue more educationally, to be able to sit there and learn, take it. We can't live our lives not educating ourselves, because although people will say ignorance is bliss, I think ignorance is also such it's a big weapon as well. And you don't want to fall into that trap where your ignorance is being weaponized.
No, I love that. I think like we as like, individuals, if we're able to have the opportunity to have education, even if we hate like a course that we're learning, or if we have a teacher that we don't like, or whatever the case is, I think sometimes that sets us back a lot in terms of education, and we look at it as more of like an annoyance rather than like a blessing and a gift that it is. So I completely agree with you. Like, education in itself is a weapon. We can use it for good, we can use it for bad. And you are obviously using it for, as, you know, the greatest of all greats.
Trying my best to, but, you know, education at the end of the day is, the definition of it to me is you live and you learn.
Yeah.
And whether you want to think about it that way or not, every day that you're living, you're educating yourself in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, just like go outside, you learn something new. Yeah. You meet someone new, you learn something that they knew that you didn't. Like, it's all around you, so you have to just really look for it. Yeah. Love that. Okay, so in terms of like standard education, what is a topic that you feel like should be taught in schools that isn't?
So many things. So many things, but I think in today's day and age, although especially here in the US, it's mandatory, I believe, for all of us to take US government courses.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to take a US government course at some point in their high school career. But I think that there needs to be a larger conversation when it comes to politics and economics, especially in course, because I think, especially in this current climate, a lot of people think you either need to be one side or the other. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. We're being taught that our views need to be put in this box. Yes. And sometimes, you know, your views might align with one side and they might align with the other. And we're being taught that there's necessarily no middle ground. And I think that politics needs to be taught in a way where we can think about our values, not as one party or the other, but in terms of us being a person and how that may resonate with us, and looking at candidates and looking at policies that we feel align with our moral values. And also thinking about that, you know, thinking about the economic standpoint, a lot of us and a lot of people in general, and, you know, I might be victim to it as well, will look at certain economic standpoints and think, well, this is good for me. And you're not thinking about how it's good for others. Yeah. And I think a lot of fault to that is just the way in which we are educated inside the school system, where we're just kind of taught these terms and these definitions and we think, okay, that's that. Mm-hmm. We don't really think about it aside from that. So I think in school, maybe more classes where we're able to sit there and actually think about policies and talk through them and the pros and the cons and have these conversations as human beings. And political and economic literacy is just something that a lot of us take for granted.
Yeah. I like what you said about like talking about it as human beings. Like, I feel like when you are kind of put in that box where you have to pick a side, it creates so much division. But like, you know, school is where you formulate a lot of your opinions and your ideas. And so being around others with different opinions and ideas shouldn't be a bad thing.
It shouldn't.
And I think that in our society, we've created it to be a bad thing.
Yeah, there needs to be more discourse. There needs to be discussion. It can't just be listen to what this person said and listen to what that person said. And I agree and I disagree. Yeah. There needs to be some sort of conversation that's going on, especially in schools, especially in high school, because at some point you're going to become of age to vote. Yes. So being able to have those conversations, being able to sit down and listen to political debate and hear out both sides, but also have a conversation about what is being said is so important.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Okay, so tell me about someone who has left an impact on you and why.
I'm going to say my little sister. Okay. Just consistently leaves an impact on me. She's younger than me. I'm the oldest of 3, and day in and day out, she's up at 3 in the morning and she's back in bed at like 11, 12, juggling several different types of jobs to just like make her own dreams come true. And I think growing up with her, we've always been sort of like polar opposites, I would say, because I've always been sort of a go with the flow kind of person and I'll figure it out as I go. Right. And she's always been the 5-year plan kid. Like, she knows exactly what she wants and where she's going and how she's going to make those dreams come true. And seeing the way that she just puts herself out there, is consistently forming connections. It's really inspiring to me to kind of do better day in and day out because, you know, as an older sister, I can't let my little sister outdo me. But it's also just great to see her do it. And sometimes we talk about it and we both really learn from each other. But I think as older siblings, we never really say we learn from our younger siblings. And I will say, you know, she probably did learn a couple of things from me here and there. But just seeing the way that she breaks out of her shell to meet people, make these connections, push forward, work, and just try and get herself to a point where she can say, yeah, I'm a step closer to my dreams. It's just great.
That's so inspiring to have someone that like is like you said is younger than you. Seeing that happen, it's like I feel like if I had that in my life, it would push me so much farther.
Yes.
So I feel like it's one, inspiring, but it's, I think, great motivation. Also, she's learning so much from you in just a different way than you are learning from her. I think that's the beauty of siblings. Okay. Is there a cause or social issue that you're passionate about, and why is it important to you?
I think a current social issue that I'm seeing, and it's, day in, day out, we're seeing new things come out, especially, post-election. It's just this conversation on deportation and the idea of who gets to stay in this country and who gets to be American.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it's such an important social issue to me is, I come from a family of immigrants. My uncles, my parents, everybody in my life is an immigrant.
Yeah.
And I am a product of immigrant parents. And seeing this conversation about like who gets to be American and who gets to stay in this country, it's both ridiculous and just very scary, in thinking that a lot of these people that I love, be it they're here illegally or not, or illegally or illegally, it's just really scary, because at the end of the day, immigrants make the world go round. And a lot of their work that they do in this country, a lot of people, regular people, wouldn't want to do.
Yeah.
And thinking about the policies that are being written and these actions that are being taken in terms of like mass deportation and stuff like that, I think the concept of who gets to stay and who gets to go, it's rather silly to me, but it's also something that really needs to be discussed, and it's really important to me, because we need to advocate for these people, because some of them have been here for so long and some of them haven't. And I think whether they've been here for years or days, it's an important discussion that we need to have. And we need to realize that the impact that they make, not just on us as people, but we're not necessarily thinking about the economic impact that they make. My uncles and aunts who are field workers, my grandmother was a field worker, and just thinking about how if these policies were enacted back then, my life would be very different, and so would the life of my parents, and I might not be here today. And I think it's an important conversation that needs to be had, and it's an important issue that we need to discuss in a positive manner, because if we keep looking at this word of illegal through this negative connotation, we are never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, no, I love that. Do you this is not a question, but I just wanted to ask, do you do anything in terms of volunteering or community outreach in that realm, of trying to spread more awareness to the problem? I know you have you're studying PR and whatnot, so I feel like you can use a lot of it to kind of spread your voice and spread the voice of others. Do you want to go into that at one point in time, or have you done stuff like that in your prior career? I
feel like from my hometown, because I come from a border city, and now I've moved here to San Diego, and I've been here almost 6 years now. But in my hometown, because it's such a small city, and I guess I'm sort of a well-known figure just through my time working in the arts over there, and being part of art walks, and just being a community person. A lot of people really listen to me. And in a small city, it's kind of important to be in that situation, whether it be that I'm sharing something onto my story and it's getting reposted, or I'm voicing my opinion and people are liking and sharing. I think that's kind of the way I use my voice. I think in terms of PR, I hope at one day, not saying I hope one day I'm super famous or whatnot, but I'm hoping one day to be able to use my status to be able to talk about these things and reach more people, because it really takes a village. And sometimes we take our status and our positions for granted when we could be doing bigger things, and we could be doing so much more for people. I think just being able to use a platform is kind of the way in which I try and communicate these things.
No, I love that. So how do you feel?
I feel good. Good. I feel good. A little silly. Yeah. Sometimes my responses can be a little silly because I can't think of things sometimes straight off the bat.
No, but you did so good, and you're so well spoken.
Oh, thank you.
So I hope that, as you're finishing up your last year of your program, I hope that the next job you get is amazing, and that you make such a long-lasting impact on whoever you meet and whatever you do. And best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey YouTube, if you enjoyed this person's story, don't forget to subscribe below to hear more from our inspiring youth. If you want to apply for our Storyteller Scholarship or get more involved in our organization, click the link below to apply. Thanks for watching!